Every time a lead says, I need to think about it, and your team does not know what to say next, you're not only losing a patient, you're also losing thousands in lifetime value that patient is not going to bring you. So let's talk about how objection handling on the phone or in the consultation could be stopping you from hitting that $1 million mark in your med spa. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Rashawn R. I am the founder of MediLaunch. We help med spas scale their practice, increase their profits, and allow their business to run for them so they don't work for it. I've helped over 200 med spas scale their business using these exact frameworks I'm going to go over. So let's jump into it. I want to keep things simple, guys. A lot of people try to teach objection handling. They give you all these woo-woo tactics and they don't actually do sales. They just teach sales. I am someone who actually not only teaches sales, but I actually do sales on a daily basis and I manage multiple sales teams. So I just want to make it as simple as possible because when I'm doing all of these things, I need to keep the exact same frameworks. I can't do something different than what I teach. So I'm going to give you a very simple objection handling framework that you can use for any objection. All right. And the framework kind of looks like this: 4 steps for objection handling. You want to think about step number 1 as diffusing the objection, because when you get into objection handling, your prospect's guard goes up. They instantly think you want to go back and forth with them and fight with them. But if you could just diffuse the moment, you have a better chance of handling the objection. All right. So step number 2 is going to be asking a clarifying question there. And that's essentially, once we've diffused the objection, we want to figure out what's the root of the objection. Never, ever assume you know what the objection is coming from or what it's rooted in. You must clarify. The biggest thing I've learned in sales is you must clarify your way to a close. Never assume your way to a close or try to force people along. Step number 3 is going to be explain away the concern. Now, what explain away the concern is essentially you've diffused, you figured out the root of the concern. Now it's just a matter of actually explaining away that concern with the solution. Okay. And we'll do an example soon. At the end of that, what most people do is sometimes they'll do one of these 3 things, or maybe they do all 3, but then they forget to actually close the loop. They'll leave it open-ended and then the prospect will just shoot, right? The patient will just fire off more objections. The phone prospect will fire off more objections. And then they just kind of get into this back and forth battle. The reason for that is because they're not doing number 4. So step number 4 is going to be closing the loop, which is essentially, let's just close this off and make sure that I've actually cleared up your concern. And if so, I can move on to what I was looking to do, whether that's further in the script, further in the consultation, asking for the money, asking for the appointment, whatever it is. Okay. So guys, let's go over this in real time. All right. So let's say someone says, I need to think about it. The instant thing you do should not be, oh, whoa, what do you need to think about, right? You need to slow it down, guys. The first thing you should do is diffuse. Say, I can understand that, right? That's you diffuse it. Now, number 2, what you're going to do is you're going to clarify. And you're going to say something like, what is the main criteria that you need to think about, right? That would be your clarifying question. What is the main criteria you need to think about? All right. Now, after you get their concern, right? Let's say their concern was, well, like, I don't want to leave a deposit because I don't want to pay for something if I haven't gotten it yet. Then you need to give them a solution to their concern. You must have a solution to their concern, or you must dismantle their concern, which is where step number 3 comes in, explain away their concern. Right. So it's gotcha. Well, you can look at the deposit as more of holding your spot instead of a payment, as if the treatment is not a good fit for you. We'll just refund it in the clinic. Now, guys, here's where most people leave it and then they'll wait for a response and then they probably won't get the response that they're looking for, because you need to go to step number 4, which is close the loop with something along the lines of, does that clear up your concern? Does that sound fair? Does that sound good? That's closing the loop. Okay. If you do all of these perfectly and you still don't get the objection handled, guess what? What are you going to do? You're going to go back to step number 1. So let's play this out. Prospect says, I need to think about it. You say, I can understand that. What are your main criteria that you need to think about? They say, well, I don't want to pay a deposit and pay before I come. You explain that solution and say, does that clear up your concern? And they say, no, it really doesn't. You go back to step number 1 and you say, fair enough. You're not going to use the same diffusion. Of course, you don't want to sound like a robot, but you're going to go fair enough. And then you're going to ask another clarifying question. What are your concerns around the deposit policy, right? And now we're just pretty much asking the same thing again, but at this point, we're trying to get them to unravel, like, what is your concerns around that policy that I just overviewed, right? Like, if we are going to just use the money or use the deposit to hold the spot so that you don't waste our time with a no-show, and we're going to refund it, there's really no risk. I want to know now, what's your concern? And maybe they're going to go, well, I just don't trust giving you my card, right? In which you need another solution, which is, oh, well, we're going to send a secure payment link you can take care of online. No worries. You don't have to give your card details. Asked another clarifying question, and then I explained the solution there, which is, hey, no worries. We'll send you over a secure link. And at that point, I'm not going to let them fire back at me. I'm going to say, does that sound good? Right? That's my close the loop, right? Does that sound good? And they're like, yeah, because now, guys, we peeled back the layers of the objection. First, it was, I don't want to pay before I come. We handled that, and we tried to close the loop. And they had another objection, which is, I don't want to give you my card info. We handled that, and now they have no more objections, in which, this is what I want to say here. If you have handled all of the objections, move on to the next step. Like I said, the next step could be, guys, further in the script, asking for the sale, car details, whatever it is. And then remember, that's if you handle all of the objections. If you have not, go back to step one, and you guys are going to do it again. Excuse my spelling here. All right. But what you guys can see here is this is an infinite loop. And what most sales reps are really good at, like a super high level sales rep, people that's cash collected more than $2 to $3 million in sales like myself, we're really good at not getting frustrated when a prospect is throwing their objections, because what we realize is they have a problem, we have a solution, and we genuinely feel like we can help that person. So if we genuinely feel like we can help that person, which you guys are probably feeling in the console or on the phone, then it's our job to just take a step back, diffuse the situation, figure out where their concerns are coming from, and actually try to find a middle ground with different solutions and see if we're actually clearing up their concerns. Because if we do, and we, clear up these concerns, then we can help them get the solution that they're looking to get. In my case, it's I can help them grow their med spa. In your case, it's you can help them with their acne scars so they no longer feel unconfident when they're around their husband, right? So we're handling objections not to just sell people things. We actually handle objections because we really want to help someone. And if you truly feel like you want to help someone, you're willing to go 1 to 3 layers deep, looping through this maybe 3 times to try to help them uncover that they're just stopping themselves from getting what they actually want, right? So a couple things to note here, guys, is you want to note the tonality in which you use. If I say, what do you need to think about? That's very different than, so what is it that you need to think about, right? The tone in which you say your statement dictates the way in which your statement is received, okay? Now, I want to talk a little about the pace as well. Saying things like, well, what do you need to think about is a very fast pace. In sales, when you say things with a very fast pace, people raise their sales resistance because they're thinking, this guy is just trying to sell me something, or this gal is just trying to sell me something. So if you want to come off as genuine, because you are, and you should be, assuming that you are, right? You need to take a step back and slow down your words so it doesn't force someone into a corner because you're saying things so fast, right? So what is it that you need to think about? It's very different than what is it that you need to think about? Right? So your tone and your pace. And notice the third thing that I threw in there was my verbal pause, right? I said, what is it that you need to think about? That what is it that you need to think about? There's a little pause in the middle there. And what we call that is a verbal pause. And it's almost like telling a campfire story. You kind of leave a little bit of a cliffhanger to draw the prospect in. And sometimes it's just not about what you say. It's about how you say it and how you set it up that gets the right response. I'm going to leave it at that. If you feel like you've been saying the right scripts, you've been doing the 1 through 4 perfectly, but you're still not getting the results you're looking for, it could come down to the fact that your tone is bad, your pace is bad, and your verbal pauses are bad. Guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully this helps someone out. This is just a little bit of free content. I'm going to release this on our free community, but I'm also going to give it to the clients in my program. And obviously, if you're in my program, that you should already know this because you have full access to my training course. But I'm just going to give this to everyone because I had this on my mind and I really just wanted to help you guys out today. So if you've enjoyed this and you're in our community, leave a comment. If it's on YouTube or wherever else, go ahead and leave a comment as well. Love helping you guys out. Let's crush the rest of the year, guys. Quick side note, guys, if you are a med spa owner looking to scale your business to 100K per month, increase profits, or just create an asset that runs on its own that you can maybe one day sell or pass down to someone else, you should definitely click the link in our bio, join our MediLaunch program where we're helping hundreds of med spa owners do the exact same thing right now. I would love to see you guys on the other side.